Hey, it's Jeff with Beyond the Rings Ministry again. Thank you for joining us for another short stories. And so just a reminder, Beyond the Rings Olympic Ministry, go to beyondtherings.net where you can find out more information. You can see pictures and details from previous Olympic ministry outreaches, as well as there's a place there where you can join the support team. And what's the Beyond the Rings support team? We ask people to pray, to give, and to share. Pray, obviously, because we can't do anything without prayer. We ask you to join us in praying, seeking God's protection, His provision, His plan. We want to be in alignment with His plan. So we invite you to join us in prayer. Our three biggest prayer needs right now are housing for Paris 2024, pin production and design, and then funding. Those are our top three prayer needs right now. You can join us in prayer. You can join us in giving. We need to raise a lot of money to produce the pins that we use for gospel conversations during the Olympics. And so they're about $2 a pin, and we're hoping to take at least 5,000 pins with us. So right there, we need at least $10,000 for the pins. And then in addition to that, as the team leader, it is my hope and prayer and plan to be on the ground in Paris for over 20 days, leading the teams as we're engaging in gospel conversations. And so, of course, I'm seeking funding to help support my time on the ground during the Paris 2024 outreach. And then share. Hopefully, you'll find these stories entertaining and enlightening to help you know how God is at work and how you can be praying for and giving to, and then share with others. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your friends, your small group at church. Say, hey, Pastor, have you heard about this Olympic ministry, Beyond the Rings? The more people that know about the ministry, the more we can get the word out, and the more prayer partners we can have, support team members we can have that are praying, giving, and sharing about Beyond the Rings. So thank you. Thank you again for tuning in today. Again, Beyond the Rings short stories. Our vision is to do short stories of about, less than 10 minutes. To kind of give you a peek into what it's been like sharing the gospel at the Olympics since the summer of 2000. And so speaking of the summer of 2000, that's what I wanted to share about in today's episode is Sydney 2000. I had never left continental USA in the summer of 2000, and I was serving at the time as a student pastor for a church in Evansville, Indiana, Grace Baptist Church. Shout out to Grace Baptist Church in Evansville, Indiana. Loved being at that church and the people there. It was such a blessing. And while we were in Evansville, our oldest daughter was born. So we have a Hoosier as part of our legacy and connection to Indiana. But another amazing thing that happened in my time in Indiana is I met Dave Gwynn of the International Sports Chaplains. Dave was a speaker at a college retreat, and I took a group of students there for the retreat that was sponsored by the Indiana State Baptist Convention. And it was there that I met Dave and got to hear his story of not only his time as an Olympian, but even more so his passion for helping people know Jesus Christ. And over lunch one day during that retreat, Dave was explaining to me about how he is taking people to the Olympics to share the gospel with people from all over the world. And he looks at me and says, Jeff, you need to come and be a part of this. And I was blown away. I was humbled, and I was excited. But I was dirt poor. I was a youth pastor. My wife was a stay-at-home mom with our first daughter. And on paper, from a worldly standpoint, it just did not make any sense. But I left committed and telling David that I would pray about it and I would be back in touch with him. And went home from that retreat, and it was a great retreat in and of itself. God really did some great things in the lives of the students, and obviously had started something in my life that I didn't even understand yet. And I met David, went home, shared with my wife this vision, and she's like, well, let's just pray about it. And so we started praying about it, and I shared with my pastor, Tom Savage, about the opportunity. And I'm so grateful for his wisdom about this, because he basically said, let's pray about it and see what God does. And so we began praying. I can't tell you how much time passed from that initial conversation But I remember it wasn't much time because the games were going to be in September. This was, it was just months away. I didn't have a year. I don't even think I had 6 months to prepare for this opportunity. And so I remember one day Dave calling and say, "Hey, Jeff, I really hope you can go with us. We need a deposit of $900 tomorrow to secure your airplane ticket from LA to Sydney." I still had to get to LA. And I'm like, "Dude, I don't have $9." And so he goes, "Well, tomorrow's the deadline." And I'm like, "Okay, I understand that." And so I shared with my pastor, and as I shared that, our office manager overheard that conversation. A wonderful, godly woman. And she just asked me, "Hey, Jeff, can I make a phone call on your behalf?" I'm like, "Sure." And long story short, she had reached out to a family of the church who are very, very generous, gracious givers, and shared the need. And they walked into the church office. I thought it was that afternoon, best I can remember, a few hours later with a $1,000 check. So we were off and running. We were headed toward the Olympics. And so I had the first $1,000, covered the airfare, and that was a big chunk of it. But by the time everything was said and done, we needed to raise about $5,000 that would pay for the airfare, the lodging, meals every day, and things of that nature. And so I needed to raise about $5,000. And by the time we got on the plane in LA, actually by the time we got on the plane in St. Louis, we flew out of St. Louis to LA, spent the night in LA, flew from LA to Sydney. God had provided $6,000. So that was not new. God's always kind of done those things in my life. But it was new in this sense, in that this was such a new, unknown opportunity. And God had provided and shown up in such a profound way. Along that line was, getting my passport, because I didn't have a passport, and I had to expedite that. And that all came through smoothly. And before I knew it, I'm in Sydney, Australia. But this is how prepared I was for this. I didn't know where we were staying. Now, that seems odd, but as is often the case, and this is certainly the case going into Paris 2024, housing can be the most challenging part of Olympic ministry, because the Olympics are there. It's usually in a world-renowned city. It tends to be an expensive destination. And so not only is airfare expensive, but lodging is expensive as well. And so they had pursued a couple of options of housing, and I just wasn't clear on which one they landed on. And so literally in the air, I wasn't sure exactly where we were even going once we landed in Sydney, Australia. And but come to find out, we had been able to secure housing with Windsor District Baptist Church. And Windsor District Baptist Church was located about an hour commute by train outside of Sydney. And what they had done, which was really cool, is they had taken their entire back yardage of their church property, and they had cleared it all, and they had built Tent City. And that's exactly what it was. It was just rows and rows and rows of tents. They built 2 buildings, men's shower and restroom facility, women's shower and restroom facility, and they housed missionaries from all over the world coming to Sydney to share the gospel during the Olympics. And so we land and we make our way out to Windsor District Baptist Church, and I find my tent for the week, and I have a tent mate that I did not know that was a part of Dave's ministry, young man, and we slept on the floor, on the ground in Sydney, Australia, in the backyard of Windsor District Baptist Church in their tent city, and it was such a blessing. It was cold because it was it was just coming out of spring, just coming out of winter, in Australia, and it was very cold, below freezing. The first several nights we were sleeping in the tents, and we're prepared for the Summer Olympics with t-shirts and shorts, and it was quite the experience, but an incredible opportunity. Since it was the summer of 2000, the internet and social media and all that was very, very fresh. I don't even know if there was social media, but there was the internet. I did have an email address, but there was only like one computer. And so we would all have to like sign up for slots of computer time. And we would do that, and we'd get on the computer and we'd make as many emails as we could. And then the other line that would form would be by the payphone. And one of the things that we made sure to secure when we first landed was a calling card, so that we could call back to the States. And so I remember many early mornings standing in line, making those calls. That would be the most optimal time for calling back to Evansville, Indiana, to talk with my wife and my baby daughter. And so that was Sydney 2000. And that's, and the conversations, the first few days we went out, I was terrified. I was nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. People who know me now and who have seen me engage in this type of evangelism, which the closest way to describe it is street evangelism, but it's not, we're not standing in the street preaching. We're simply engaging in conversations with people, really just being friendly, engaging, starting conversations, and if they're friendly and receptive, taking those conversations toward the gospel. And that's where the pen trading has helped doing that, because using the pen can be a great way to transition from talking about the weather or the city or even the Olympics to specifically talking about the gospel. But I had not done that before I went to Sydney, and I was nervous the first few days we went out because I was trying to just feel out what I was supposed to do, how I was supposed to do it, watching other veterans who were doing it. And it was the second or third day, and it's like God flipped a switch in my life and in my heart. And I just loved the opportunity to have these conversations, to engage with people literally from all over the world about Jesus Christ. And so numerous times a day, I literally lose count. It's often 100 times or more a day where we're having these gospel conversations with people. And what's great about the Olympics is you don't have to go looking for them. There's just this very welcoming and open atmosphere. People want to meet people. They want to get to know others. They want to hear other stories. And so it's an incredible place to share the gospel. As I say now, Olympic ministry is like Acts 1:8 all in one place, because literally you'll have an opportunity to share the gospel with somebody very near to where you physically live, as well as people from countries that are close to the gospel and everywhere in between. And so that's why I'm grateful for the opportunity I've had to be a part of the Olympic ministries all these years, to have met David Quinn, and to have formed some great friendships and team members over the years through International Sports Chaplains. And again, as we move into Paris 2024, we're adding to the ground force in those who will be sharing the gospel. Dave and his team will be there. I'm building a new team, new ministry called Beyond the Rings. You can go to beyondtherings.net to get more information, to see how you can join the support team, to pray, give, and share about Beyond the Rings, as well as see his pictures and stories from previous Olympic ministries. And that's my short story for this episode. Thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you for our next episode. And again, visit beyondtherings.net. Appreciate your prayers. Look forward to talking with you soon. God bless.